listening to the Concierge Coaches Show with Bruce Cameron and Wayne Fritz, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another great episode of the Concierge Coaches Show here on LA Talk Radio. I'm Bruce Cameron, along with Wayne Fritz.
Good to see you.
Hey, and our special guest, Drew Taunton. Look at that. All right, got the LLC already, huh? Okay, good job. Well, folks, this is certainly my first time to be in my new office complex, the conciergecoach.net. We're here based in Dallas now. We're out of Tarrant County and into the Big D, north of downtown. So more on that as I get more settled into this complex. So we're here over here today. Well, folks, we got a special guest with us, Drew Taunton. And, you know, Drew is a great guest to have on the show because oftentimes we have people that the folks that listen to our show are either coaches themselves or they're people that are contemplating going into life coaching themselves. And so Drew is a perfect guest to have because he's going to share with us about his career in coaching thus far. And I think that'll be real instructive, particularly for our listeners that are kind of in the contemplation stage of becoming a coach. They haven't quite made the commitment yet to do it and those things. And so I think Drew's experience, past and current, I think will be very, very informative for many of our listeners. So, Drew, thanks for coming on today on short notice.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Bruce. It's nice to be on the screen for once, just writing the summaries and stuff. So glad to finally be on here.
Drew's like our producer on the Texas side, folks. That's right. So for the last year or so, Drew, almost 2 years, I think, nearly.
Yeah.
Drew's been writing the show summaries or the core parts of the show summaries that you see on the LA Talk Radio site, and also Apple Podcast, Amazon, Audible, and all the other aggregates that carry the show. So Drew is the man who does some of the production work. So we appreciate your service, man.
Yes, thank you very much, Drew.
Appreciate your service. And so I'm sure part of that inspired you to be in coaching. But let's kind of go back, Drew, and talk about. I know that you graduated from college from Auburn recently, and as a psych major. So kind of talk a little bit about why you decided to be a psychology major and what your thoughts were maybe as a teenager and high schooler moving forward, and talk about that part first.
Yeah, so going into high school, my freshman year of high school, I didn't really know at all what I wanted to do. I thought about potentially going down the medical field because I have a dad who's a surgeon and an oldest brother as well. So I thought about potentially going down that route. It was about my junior year where I started considering psychology, and kind of what brought that forward is I kind of just had a lot of stuff happen from freshman year to senior year of high school. And one thing that really helped me was just talking about, my issues or whatever with people and kind of listening to their stuff as well. I just found that very, very helpful for me, and it was helpful for them. And so I just kind of thought, I was like, okay, what can I do career-wise while I get to do that? And psychology popped up. And one thing that really helped me kind of really set on that, and there were 3 questions that I kind of used to get to that point. It was actually one of my oldest brothers who told me about it. So the first question is, can I use this to glorify God? And I think psychology is a great field. I know a lot of believers who are in that field. So for me, that's definitely the foundation for why I wanted to do it. And then the second question is, am I good at it? And I know I'm very, very new to the game, but I feel like I do have the tools to succeed in this field. I think I'm a good listener. I don't really judge anybody, based on what they say to me. I've always tried to be somebody that people can talk to and will listen and try to provide, some helpful advice and stuff like that. And then also the third and final one is, do I enjoy this? And for me, I've really enjoyed it. I've experienced both sides of it. I've done counseling before and life coaching from a client standpoint, and pursuing my career, I've had opportunity to talk to some people, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. And I think as I progress and start to see the fruits of the labor that I'm doing now, I think that'll also increase the enjoyment of it. So,
Man,
yeah, what brought me to the psych field.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, great job. And sometimes I'm glad to see you kind of defending the psychology major. I mean, I myself was a psychology major, but in some of the Christian circles, psychology majors get a lot of crap for being psychology majors. If you're a Christian, like, what, or is that a secular degree? Are you gonna, you know what I mean? Are you gonna start, doing crazy stuff with crystals or something? I mean, not really, but no, there is room, absolutely room for folks who are Christian believers, have a great sanctified walk, and to be in the psychology realm, mental health realm. So, and I think you're going to be a great ambassador for that, moving forward.
Yeah.
So, good answer. I mean, that's just so true. I'm glad you brought that up. So now you went to Auburn University, you got your bachelor's degree, you did really good. 3.6, man, that's fantastic. Props to you. It just shows you how dedicated you were to finishing strong, and I believe you got your degree in a fairly timely manner, right? Did you get it in 4 type of thing, or?
Yeah, so I actually graduated a semester early.
Yeah.
So
Who does that?
I think it was 120 credit hours, but I came in with, I think, about a semester's worth of credit hours because I took some dual credit classes my junior and senior year of high school. So that definitely paid off in the end. So yeah, I graduated this past December.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm thinking of, myself, I went from clinical psychology as a hardline clinical psychologist, evaluator, that type of guy with a licensed professional counseling license, and then a coach. And so I think it's going to be really great for you to kind of, you're kind of starting coaching and counseling at the same time. I mean, actually you'll be a little bit ahead on the coaching. But we'll talk about some of the things that you have done already that I think you've experienced working through the counseling practice here, that it's going to give you an edge on some of your peers in the counseling program that you're going through. So anyway, long story short, when you even it out, you're kind of doing both lines of thinking at the same time early in your career. So I think that's really special, man, that you're able to do that. Because you can ask Wayne, man, back in 2016, Wayne's helped me kind of unwind. Just kidding, Wayne. But I've kind of unwound from a purely psychological perspective, and it's taken me a while to get acclimated to counseling and coaching. So, and I'm there, man. Don't get me wrong.
You sure are. Actually, Bruce, I think you were there before you ever became a life coach. Because you counseled me, and you were actually a life coach.
Yeah,
with a degree in counseling.
Right. So, I appreciate. You're right. I kind of
just have that. Well, but what it is there's a reason for that. You could go see a lot of counselors, but there wouldn't be a Bruce. It's like Drew said. He feels like he's got that good listening attitude. Yeah. You also have the personality, Bruce.
Yeah.
That I think is a good personality to emulate if you're going to be a counselor. It's definitely a natural personality to have as a coach because people like you. It's very important. If you can get all the degrees in the world you want, but if people come to you once and they don't want to go back, that's not good.
No.
And so they always want to go back to a guy like Bruce Cameron. And that's so Drew, I'm just saying this because that's the truth. I mean, so you always want to keep that in mind. I've hired people in the sales field over 50 years, and they said, man, I can teach people so much. I've got so much knowledge. I said, hey, listen, that's not even the important thing. The important thing is, do they want you to come back?
Right.
And that's they're not going to listen or take any advice or coaching or mentoring from anybody they don't like.
Absolutely. And Drew has a great sense of humor. it
Yeah.
might not avail itself today, but boy, he's got a quick wit. He's pretty dry, man. He hits me with some pretty good zingers. I'm like, oh God, okay. I thought I was the king
Thanks,
of
Bruce.
humor, but man, this guy's a
Well, Bruce is good. Bruce
Miami.
got me into this, and I still haven't got it figured out because I haven't got it off a dead center, but I've used it a lot in what I do.
Yeah.
Because I think we're all coaches.
To some degree, we are. Is absolutely. So, Drew, so you got through the degree, and then you're getting some practicum experience through the practice there in South Lake and everything, and I think that was really good. So, kind of talk about the mental process and/or any barriers that you might have had going from college graduate to enrolling into the life coach training.
Yeah, so for the life coach training, I mean, honestly, one barrier was just like having no idea what to expect. I think, yeah, just not really sure what to expect, but I think kind of going into it, just being prepared for whatever, just kind of putting myself in a position to where I could see it as something to where I could succeed at instead of viewing as like, what if this goes bad? It's like, what if this goes right? And trying to having a positive mindset with it. And once we started, I mean, a challenge of it was that it was online like the whole time, which it can work, but I think in person is definitely where you kind of make those connections, and I think it's better to do in person. But I mean, I think the online format worked for what they were trying to achieve, and I mean, it was about 9 straight hours for 3 days. So I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I mean, there wasn't really much else I was doing those days. I mean, I'd wake up, go on the calls from I think 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or so. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely something I had to I guess mentally prepare for beforehand, just knowing that it was going to be a pretty long process. And one thing that they would do is would kind of go through different stages of coaching, and then once we finished that, we would split off and do like one-on-one coaching calls with people. And so, for example, like the first day we did like 3 5-minute sessions, and then your homework would be to do a 15-minute session with somebody. And then the next day it was like 2 10-minute sessions, and your homework is, 1 30-minute session. And for the last day, on the third day, we had to do like, I think an hour session. So it was tough because you don't want to be too laid back to where you're not making progress, but you don't want to be so like stuck on the script to where you become rigid and it just seems like I don't know, more like an interview instead of like a real genuine connection. I think from my experience, I think overall I did really well. I mean, there was a time or two where I really wasn't sure what to say, but I think it's one of those things where I could have looked at it as something that should have been avoided, but I think because there were some areas that like I quote unquote failed at, I think that actually will lead me to be more successful instead of looking at failure as something to be avoided, something that we should embrace and not be shocked by it. And then that'll ultimately help us, be successful. Because failure, I mean, ultimately is a great teacher because it shows you what's not working, but it also can show you what is working, what you can improve on. So yeah, I mean, it was a really good experience. But yeah, I mean, the main barriers was just the online. I mean, it was a lot just sitting in a chair all day talking with people. But yeah, I mean, it was a really good experience. I think I was the youngest one there. So I mean, that's
Sure.
also just another barrier is because I think I'm pretty young for what I'm doing right now. And not being intimidated by that, use that as an opportunity to show that young people can do this and can succeed, and that we shouldn't shy away just because most of the people you run into are older or seem more knowledgeable or whatever. I mean, we all have to start at some point, and it's better just to go ahead and take those first steps instead of being like too scared to even try. So
Excellent.
yeah, but I mean, that was my experience with the life coaching training.
Excellent. Wayne, what you got?
Well, Drew,
Some huge ears.
Drew was trying to hold it in. He did real well. But yeah, when you said you have to listen, I keep props because I do a lot of Zoom calls with clients, and I do a lot of Zoom calls in my work and training, also sales training. But with Zoom, you really have to keep people alive because you can lose interest even in a Zoom call. And so I have all kinds of props because I think they're important. It's just like you can become. You said the three things that you wanted to answer about doing coaching and also psychology was, does it glorify God? That was, I love that was number one. Blew me away right away. Right away, you had my attention. But the third one was, do you enjoy it? And that is so important. And in my business that I've done for years, it's that, do I enjoy it and do I have fun? That's enjoying it. And when people come to us as a coach or in counseling even, they have a challenge. They have a problem that they want somebody to help them solve. They don't need us to solve it, but they just need help in solving it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a pretty serious challenge. But, it's good to let them know that we're all human, because a counselor is not a god. A counselor is no one to be worshipped or a coach. But we're people, and it's good to kind of break ice. I'm a jokester. I like to have fun, and I've got, my room is surrounded by different things, that I can put on and wear. Just what it is, it just changes it changes their. One old boy said it changes their perceptive. This guy destroyed the English language. Not perception, but perceptive. But you want to do that. You want to get them where they're relaxed, so that they open up. Because sometimes it's hard to open up. That's the most difficult thing for a coach, I think, is to have the ability to let someone not have their arms like this, but to have their arms like this, so that they're all the way open. Mm-hmm. And so make sure that, I'll tell you, I can remember times in Bruce's office where, man, he would rear back in his chair and say, man, I know what you mean. And then he'd go off on some kind of a story, and I'd laugh my butt off because it made the environment friendly. It made it like I'm not in a doctor's office or something, so to speak. He was able to get me to, Bruce, for better words, drop my guard.
There you go. And honestly, I think what we're doing with Drew is have him focus on adolescents and young adults right now.
Oh, wonderful.
Really hone in his skills on that population base, right? And they'll be able to obviously resonate with him because he is a young adult, and that's good. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing. And so he'll be able to really, capture that. And that's the same way I came up, man. And when I was 22, 23, there I was in those adolescent group homes doing a bunch of kid stuff, child rotations, whatever, doing that, first thing out of the gate, just to get my experience with that. And I'm glad I had those experiences. And to this day, I'm still hanging on to some of the, have a little bit of an adolescent practice and those things. So we're gonna have Drew go into that. Another thing is that we all three went to the same life coaching school. So we're all graduates from the same program that's certified by the International Coaching Federation. So we all have that certification. And so I like that continuity that we all had the same certification from the same place and that we're all pretty much on the same page. And so I do like that a lot.
We have good teachers. That's a good place to go. I was like, I did it in person here in Irving.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can appreciate 3 days online for 9 o'clock in the morning till the evening or something like that. That would
yes.
The mind can only absorb what the seat
It's totally
and
worth
endure.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's totally worth it. Totally worth it. I think it's the best thing
Yeah.
since sliced bread. I wish if I got a commission for all the people that I've sent over the
Yeah.
three, I'd
Yeah.
be
Well,
rich.
you even
Um, but
spoke with the
I'm,
one that I took.
I'm such a believer, and I'm such a believer in that, and
Well,
but
Drew, can I ask you a question? What so you're gonna work with adolescents or lean on that a lot. I think
he is. He
yeah,
is.
that's why I said Drew.
Yeah.
Drew.
Oh yeah, Drew. Okay, yeah.
And so I mean that's so perfect. I just think yeah, because see me the adolescent wouldn't most certainly want to listen to an old man like me. Uh, I'm from the
Okay.
wrong generation, but you. Yeah, and that is such, I think today more than ever, especially with your relationship with God, I think more than ever, that's a great calling
Right.
with the youth today. And I'm anxious to see your path because
Me too. And I'm, I don't know if I don't want to go too out in front, but I could see him in the vocational ministry. Same thing. You go, and he's going to go to Dallas Baptist, right? He's going to get there. He's going to have his master's in counseling from there. He wants to get the master's in divinity later. He can. Let's say he works in a church. He works as a, and you know the drill with these, Baptists or Baptist-like churches. They get that young guy who's fresh out of his master's. Where they put him in youth ministry. That's where they put those guys. They're not putting them out there in the hospital doing. I mean, maybe, but they're gonna put that guy in youth ministry, and then he's gonna be in the young adult ministry for college kids, and then
hey, listen, I'm gonna say
as it goes
something
forward.
totally off subject. Speaking of the youth, Greg and Teddy every now and then go to a church in downtown Fort Worth. I can't remember the name of it, Bruce, but they said it's on the corner of Henderson and the main East and West Street, there by the courthouse.
Mm-hmm. Belknap.
Yeah, Belton. And they said that place had over 800, 900 people in it.
Wow.
And he said they were all young people.
Wow.
Professionals, all in downtown Fort Worth.
Yeah, they all live off of West 7th. Yeah, that area.
Yeah. And that's pretty interesting. There you go in Fort Worth. 600 to 800 people in that church.
Yeah.
Yesterday morning, and they're all young people.
Amen.
Yeah, and just there's a message there. So
there is. So yeah, I mean, so kind of he's at a good place at the right place, the right time, I think, and but nonetheless, right? He's marching through the steps, and with that said, being a good steward of our time here. So now, you went through the coaching, you went through the coaching class. Now, did they devote any time as part of your coaching training toward building your own coaching practice? Did they do any business stuff or just a little module on that?
Yes, sir, they did. They did that towards the end, and I don't remember it taking that much time. But yeah, they did talk about it at the end. So there was a little bit of a segment there. Okay.
So that said is right. So now in your next phase after you went through the coaching class, what are some of the things you're doing now to build an awareness in your brand and all that?
Yeah, so I mean the first one that comes to mind is LinkedIn. That's something that I've had since going to Auburn. I took a class. I forgot exactly what it was called, but basically what it was about is, getting your name out there, making your resumes and cover letters and stuff like that. So I made a LinkedIn, and it's more up to date now. So kind of just putting my name out there and the services I provide. Facebook as well. That's more of a new one. I have a personal one, but then I also have one dedicated to coaching. And then, I mean, the third one and the newest one is, with working with you, I mean, we go to the different meetings and networking and stuff like that. I have my business cards and just, word of mouth, getting my name out there, handing my cards to people, taking their cards and kind of working together to, help their practice, also help me as well. So, I mean, as of right now, those have kind of been the main ways I've kind of put my name out there. And then obviously doing the show with y'all, just getting my name out there. And, I know the success isn't going to happen overnight, but, right now is about kind of just laying down the groundwork, and then over time, watering that, being diligent, stuff like that, that'll bring the fruits later. But those have been the main ways that I've, kind of
Exactly. No,
myself and marketed myself.
exactly, and that's a great solid start. Number one, I mean, LinkedIn is free, Facebook is free, so those are two free platforms. We could do some tweeting and Twitter stuff, but there's also a lot of trash out there on X, and I don't want to. It's just kind of a rough medium, I think. But we may get into TikTok later. We'll see. But because that is a youth platform. I mean, it just straight up youth platform. So to not use TikTok probably would be an injustice, but we'll work on that for you here coming up. But yeah, so these are free platforms that you can, start building awareness and have your brand there. LinkedIn, I think, is really important for a lot of the parents that are going to be paying for your services for their kids, because they're going to do a Google search. LinkedIn is a PR9 rated site. So once they see your LinkedIn page, and it'll come up pretty with your name, John Taunton. It's not too common. It's not foreign, but I think they'll be able to find you, and then they'll see that, and hopefully they'll see the Facebook thing, and your Facebook presence will grow. So even with the Concierge Coaches show here, this show right here, when I put these on our Facebook page, it indexes. It's kind of weird, but many of them index marvelously on Google, and it comes up, and the whole dang on video comes up. And I know some of Sam's, the great Sam, owner of the station, he'll have the show on YouTube as well, and that'll pick up as well. So these are things that'll build the brand and awareness. Also, when you do the show summary for this show, I'm going to have you put backlinks on the show summary to your LinkedIn and your Facebook account, so that'll sit there and talk about watering the plant. I mean, that'll sit there and grow and grow and grow as a function of time. And so that's going to index your name out there as a life coach here. That's why I wanted to jump on it and get you on the show. So now, the other point is that there's a lot of people that go through coaching school and they're terrible businessmen or businesswomen. Okay. And sadly, some of these people spent money on their coaching training, and then they left the field because they didn't do some of the things that you're doing and I'm doing and Wayne has done. I mean, Wayne, let's face it, Wayne was already a rock star. This is just a cherry on top for Wayne, but
I enjoy this more than what I did all my life.
Wayne was like Elvis, man. It's just a cherry on top for Wayne. But anyway, but you're gonna be, so we're showing you these things to do now, real time, so that maybe one day you'll be helping others become coaches or whatever. So Drew, you did bring up something about I dragged you and Brennan to a meeting of kind of Dallas area therapists. And so that was our big field day homework assignment there. So what was did you have some intrepidation, fears about that going in? Kind of talk about your experience before going to that meeting and during and after.
Yeah. So I guess I tried to have the same mindset as going to the coaching thing, instead of focusing on like the what ifs in the negative way, what ifs in the positive light. And I think for me, just positive affirmations to myself, and almost in a way like kind of hyping myself up, because in college, I mean, going to different social events, and I think more so on the surface I'm more reserved, but once you get to know me, I'm very outspoken. But I think going to college, going to those social events and stuff like that, it kind of taught me to be able to handle being in those kind of situations. And I don't want to sound like arrogant or anything, but I was just trying to hype myself up. I was like, I played high school football, one of the best programs in Texas. I was able to handle that pressure. I'm like, this this should be easy. But I was mostly just doing that to kind of put my mind mind at ease. And I think going with you and Brennan also helped me as well. And one thing I really like about the people that I've met in this profession is they're just very laid back and are very understanding and very helpful and are curious about you and stuff. Like they're not trying to find an angle to make you feel bad about yourself
Mm-hmm.
or anything. So when I was talking to people, just making sure I had a good handshake, eye contact, asking about
Mm-hmm.
them,
Mm-hmm.
talking about the stuff that I do, and just
Mm-hmm.
just trying to be confident.
Mm-hmm.
I think having an outward appearance of confidence kind of makes people more drawn to
Mm-hmm.
you. So like not being slouched over, having your chest out, shoulders back, stuff like that. And I think because of my youth, like I want to take advantage of that. And I mean, for me, I haven't met a whole lot of people like me in this profession through college and just through that meeting. So it's like I want to take advantage of that, not in a bad way, but just like, hey, like I'm kind of I can be set apart from these people too. So it's like come and talk to me and have that confidence and stuff. And I think having that mindset got me through the door, but then also having the tools and the things that I've practiced and stuff helped me carry those conversations. And then just everyone being really nice and kind and stuff helped a lot. So that was kind of my mindset going into it, and I think it went really well. Yeah, so I mean that was kind of my mindset going into the meeting we had a couple Thursdays ago.
Yeah, and we have another one coming this Thursday as a reminder. This
Yep.
Thursday, this one will
Yeah.
be North Dallas, will be the North Dallas squad. Wayne, you're more than welcome to come. I know Wayne's real busy and
No,
might
but
not want to
I'll
make
tell
the pill. It's out in Frisco. It's a therapist group. And
I'd love to.
all right, well then I'll put you in on the action here where the restaurant is, and
Please
it's
do.
at an old not an old Mexican restaurant, but kind of a solid Mexican restaurant, kind of like Joe T. Garcia's is in Fort
Yes.
Worth, but like in Frisco, different place,
I got you.
La Hacienda, whatever.
Sounds good.
So anyhow, that'd be good, man. We'd we'd cover the whole map there with all of us there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did a really good job, and yeah, you were the youngest guy in there, but you also, I think you carried yourself, the way you carried yourself, like you said, I think it made a huge difference. I'd like to say there was one, two, three, probably five other people in that meeting that couldn't hold a candle to you the way you carried yourself, if you know what I mean. There were some pretty folks that weren't necessarily carrying themselves very, the best they could, I guess. I'm not slamming anybody, but that just, again, that confidence, and like you said, with your posture and the way you talk to people, and just look at them when you talk and just tell them what's going on with you. And we were very upfront, Wayne. They said, hey, talk about yourself and what's going on and how we can help or whatever. And like, hey, we're here to help build Drew's practice, get some clients. And so I was clear about that. He was too, and had our cards, and we showed up with everybody's business card, and it was a time well spent. And I think it went very, very well. So, so that's good.
Sure.
So afterwards, did you think like, okay, that wasn't so bad? I mean, after when you're walking out of the building, how'd you feel then?
Yeah, no, I felt good about it. I mean, I remember I talked to you, right as it was ending and stuff. But yeah, no, I felt good about it. One thing that kind of stuck out to me was just how quick the time went, because I know you wanted to be there for about a couple hours or so. I was like, dang, like I hope I have enough to say, or that I'm not like looking at the clock. And I mean, that wasn't something I was worried about at all. I felt like it went really quick, which I think is usually a sign that things went well. And it was one of those things where I want to do more and get better at that. I mean, I think there's always going to be a part of me that's a little nervous to do that, just because I'm not the most extroverted person in the world. But once I get comfortable, I think
Right.
I think it can go really well. And
Right.
I enjoy talking to people just about their practices and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where it's like I'm nervous, but once I do it, it's like I'm glad I did it, and I look forward to doing it again so I can continue to improve.
Yeah, especially at those functions. I mean, those, people are going to want to talk about themselves. So I think it's a great strategy to say, to take the lead. Well, tell me about, hey, well, tell me about your practice. What do you do? Who do you see? Oh, great. Where are you guys located at? Oh, okay. Where do you get a lot of your clients from? Okay. Well, maybe I can, and it's true. Maybe we can refer. There was this a young lady, well, young by my standards, older than you, but she was an LPC associate building a private practice. And I think a lot of it was females, right? So
yeah,
that'll be a great resource to refer some of the females that might be approaching. So, so that was good, man. And again, so that's going to be part of the deal. We're going to have hopefully the Dallas main, and then we'll have the North Dallas, and then there's going to be fusion speakers. Wayne, I had registered Drew and I to give a talk on counseling and coaching in a concurrent model for a conference, an adolescent conference that'll be in October. So we'll see if we get selected. But I wrote it up like it was a clinical abstract, so I'm excited about that.
Cool.
And then lastly, if I've been toying with the idea of the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce, right on the edge. Yeah, Royal and 75-ish. So we're in the south part of North Dallas. So that might be something that we do, and I'm still contemplating that. So just and why am I so focused on that is because in the beginning of your practice, a lot of those first hours in sweat is toward marketing, right? So the more you can do yourself, the more you're saving money, right? A lot of people will go and buy Facebook ads and Google ad spend, and they will spend tens of thousands of dollars, and it may or may not produce, So I think what we're doing, some old school, free meet and greet, shaking hands, right?
It's what in the direct sales business we call
I've taken
NDA. Neighborhood direct approach.
Well, I'm taking a page out of Wayne's playbook, setting up those meetings, but we're going in reverse,
Yep.
we're going to other people's meetings,
I'll tell you what, though, Rotary, that's how all those kind of civic things, giving back to the community, being a part of that really does nothing but help. And Bruce, you're right. Advertising, you might not, but I'll tell you, word of mouth, going out there, being humble, shaking hands, giving that good handshake, like you said, Drew, and being able to meet and greet people in I always say in a humble manner, because we always want to be humble and not greater than thou. And that's the way you sounded like when you went to that meeting last week. So that if you just keep doing that stuff, I'll tell you what, I started doing something about 18 months ago. And Bruce, I've said this to you before, but it's amazing. Next time you go in a grocery store or into church or anywhere you go where anybody's got a name badge on, I want you to try this, Drew. Just look at them and see their name and then say, hey, Connie, can I ask you a question? And she'll say, yeah. You say, has anybody today told you that you are awesome? And man, I'm going to tell you, watch the reaction. You'll get more than you give. You'll get no, but thank you very much. I've had people cry because they didn't have anybody. They lost it. One lady actually lost it. She needed that said to her. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. And you never know, but you make people's day, especially a cashier. That's all they do all day is beep, 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 beep. And they don't even look up. Right. You ask them, I say, no one has, but I needed that. Thank you. And the gift you get back is absolutely amazing. So I've gotten in a habit. I do that everywhere I go. And I did it as a test to teach people how to book. In other words, get appointments. So if you get good at that, then you can walk up to somebody, I call it the 3-foot rule, and you can say, hi there. Can I ask you a question? Always,
Yes.
can I ask you a question? And in my business, I say, let me ask you a question. Do you ever eat? And that's the reply I get. Usually it's in a laughing manner. Of course, well, I've asked that question of a lot of people, and I've never found anybody yet that didn't eat. So, well, the reason I'm asking you is because I work for a company that we give away free dinners. And they've given me 10 to give away this week. I've already given away 7. I got 3 more to give away. If they just give you one, would you eat it? And I get into their house to cook them a dinner. And I'm just laughing and joking all the way. And they don't even know my company name. I don't tell them the company name because I just want to get in and cook. Then I'll do all the other stuff. But you could also say, "Hi there, can I ask you a question?" Have you ever? Do you know what a life coach is? Have you ever?
Most people probably say no.
They probably will. Well, I'm glad you said that. That's what I do. I've always wanted to help people. Do you like helping people?
Yep.
Sure.
I've always wanted to do that, and I had a very good friend of mine who's a psychologist talked me into going to a class and get certified as a life coach. I want to give you my card. If you ever need anybody to talk to her, maybe figure something out or just find out what's going on, please feel free to give me a call, okay? You come up with a little deal, but what you're doing is you're prospecting.
Right.
And you bought those cards 500 or 1,000 or 5,000 at a time. And there's a guy named Joe Girard. Now, he wrote a book called The Greatest Salesman. I think he used to go around giving talks. He was the #1 salesperson in the United States in the car business. He was number one. Number one. Very famous. I saw him at a convention one time. And he would go to ball games and he would take boxes of business cards and walk around there in the port and walk up to the section and just throw the cards out over the people. His name got out everywhere. He'd just throw these cards, business cards. Come see BR 549. Excuse me.
We need to try that, Bruce. Go to
Well,
a Carol game and chunk our cards.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, of course, this was a car business, it had Chevrolet on it. But I'm just saying advertising, get your name out there, and brag that you can brag a little bit on a card because that's not coming out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
right.
The greatest life coach ever to be born on this earth. God bless and pass the biscuits. You really build it up because you're not saying it out of your mouth. Out of your mouth, you're very humble. Anyway, that's you've had Wayne Fritz for the day. That's enough.
There you go.
Thank you. No, I mean that was really good advice, and I think kind of just going back to the cashier example, I think a lot of people just want to be seen, and know that they're important and stuff like that, and that's just a big driving factor, for me with doing the coaching. It's just being someone that they can go to and feel like they're being heard and listen and be seen and stuff. So yeah.
John Maxwell. Have you ever heard of John Maxwell?
Yes, sir, I have. Okay,
let's go on and sign up for his daily Minute with John. And John Leslie said, "You're valuable." He tells people that when he's talking, you're valuable. And you're right. Everyone needs to hear that. Everyone needs to know that because they get caught up. We all get caught up in us and the things around us and our stuff. But we are valuable, all of us, each one of us. I mean, God tells us that. So we want you do promise me, will you do that in the next 24 hours?
Yeah, I'll make sure.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, because I want to hear from you because the feeling you're going to get, Drew, it's going to help. It's going to help you. The feeling that you get, it's kind of like cast your bread on the water, comes back tenfold. It's going to shock you. You'll get goosebumps. The more you do it, you'll get goosebumps of what bounces back to you. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, good, man. Good. Yeah, I think, that's what's so exciting. We talk about the cashier and some of the adults that we work with, but like, think of the kids, think of these teenagers and young adults that are still making the transition. They're having to follow their parents' rules, but yet they still need to have a schedule. They got to go to school. They got to try to improve their focus. They need to follow some sort of a schedule. They need to be able to set goals and follow up on them. They need to learn some kind of stress management. They need to learn maybe some resilience techniques. So, and of course, all the positive affirmations that we can give them as a coach. So I'm excited because there is this kind of adolescent alienation thing, or even, young adults finding their way, and just, not putting the whole future ahead of you. Just make the next right decision. The future is going to be the future, right? But you just need to make the next right decision and just really buckle down. And because we really are the product of our choices. I mean, in many respects, we are.
Bruce, another thing about adolescence is look what happened during COVID.
Right.
And the young school kids didn't go to school. I mean, and actually in America, we're way behind in the educational process. Plus, we got the educational gurus all goofy. So, I mean, can you imagine how much your abilities are needed in that area?
Right.
But those kids are having problems that Bruce, you and I, and also Drew never dreamed of when we were 8 years old.
Man, I got to tell you, my counseling career got started. I was on the tutoring list in Southlake. And actually, I would actually go in and be an in-home tutor and help kids with their homework. I mean, and then I just kind of charged over, up and up and up and up, and that kind of inspired me to get the counseling license as well. Just seeing that, you know what I mean? And what was going on with these kids and just being able to, another person that they can talk to and relate to other than their peer group and their parents, because those are two different types of silos. You know what I mean? You're going to get.
And then you add school, and that's a different silo.
Yeah.
We talked about the educators today. That's another totally separate silo that is, in my opinion, getting goofier by the day.
It is. Well, we got just under 2 minutes. So, Drew, any thoughts, Drew, about anything, where you're headed, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to see the fruit that's going to come from this labor. But I think as of right now, kind of what you said, don't need the future totally 100% planned out. Just make the next right decision. And I mean, I'm excited to help these kids. I think I'm old enough to where, I've gained some life experience, been young enough to where I can remember what it was like to be in that age. I'm not too far removed from, being in high school or even middle school and stuff. So I'm sure a lot of still stays.
Drew, how old are you?
I'm 21. I'm going to turn 22 in May.
Oh, that's awesome. I started in direct sales when I was 20. Matter of fact, when I was your age, I was 21.
It's funny how that works.
Always a zinger, man. Good job with that, man. All right, folks. Well, look, man, just a fantastic show today. Drew, thanks for coming on the show and sharing your experiences thus far. We're going to bring you back probably every couple of months to either go over a case, or maybe we'll for sure check in at the next benchmark leg of your career development and to be able to tell everybody what that looks like. So, and there's some other things that you learned in the practice that we didn't talk about. So we'll get to that next time. So, folks, come see us on our web site, the Concierge Coaches page on Facebook. I can be reached at conciergecoach.net. Drew, how can folks reach you?
So can reach me through my personal cell, which is 817-980-1886. And my email, which is johntaunton11@gmail.com. And then I'll be putting in my LinkedIn and my Facebook on the summary too. So those are some ways to contact me.
Awesome.
So, but thank y'all so much for having me on today. I look forward to the episode.
And Wayne, how can folks reach you?
Wayne_515 at yahoo.com.
All right, then. Well, everybody, thanks for coming out. Thanks for listening to the Concierge Coaches Show here on LA Talk Radio. And be with us next time when we have another great guest. So until then, take care. Be safe, everybody. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Concierge Coaches Show with Bruce Cameron and Wayne Fritz, only on LA Talk Radio.